unhinged, a Frankenstein's monster. Judges and others in the legal world are running out of pejoratives to describe the legal efforts of outgoing President Trump and his allies, who have, as of this morning, lost or withdrawn at least 30 cases in their efforts to overturn the results of a free and fair election. We just heard last night a resounding dismissal with prejudice of a Trump lawsuit. It came from Judge Matthew Brand of the U.S. District Court for the Middle District of Pennsylvania, who a few days ago asked the president's attorney, Rudy Giuliani, this simple question.
But at bottom, you're asking this court to invalidate more than 6.8 million votes, which we just heard about from counsel, by disenfranchising every single voter in the Commonwealth. Can you tell me how this result can possibly be justified?
That is, in a nutshell, the Trump case. Throw out millions of legal votes so as to overturn the will of the voters and undermine democracy. Noted Judge Brand just a few hours ago, quote, "One might expect that when seeking such a startling outcome, a plaintiff would come formidably armed with compelling legal arguments and factual proof of rampant corruption. That has not happened," unquote.
I want to let the rest of this clip play as Jake Tapper continues to take apart this ridiculous attempt at a coup by the Trump administration. But this point right here, I think, is extremely important. Trump and his allies are attempting to overthrow the federal government by sheer virtue of positive thinking. They have no evidence. They have no proof. They have no meaningful testimonies that can't be directly tied to some type of support directly tied to Donald Trump. Basically, these affidavits are coming from his supporters, right? So there's really nothing that they have, but yet they still have the unmitigated gall to go out here and try to overthrow the results of this election. This is extremely dangerous, but I think it is part and parcel with the arrogance and the ego of Donald Trump, which we really need to take it serious, the threat that Donald Trump is making. Let's keep listening in.
Trump offer instead, quote, strained legal arguments without merit and speculative accusations, unquote. And that's, frankly, the nice version. The Trump team's argument to the public that millions is quite literally insane. It is the upside down. Wild invocations of Hugo Chavez and George Soros. No evidence, no proof. When you look for some of the proof they offer, well, in this affidavit about the alleged fraud in Michigan, an alleged expert claims suspicious activities in Michigan, but he mistakenly provided data from Minnesota. It's a joke, and it is being treated as such by judges across the nation. Though, to be clear, they're
well,
not.
Here's the thing. We'll come back to that in a second. And this is reassuring, right? The fact that the judges, many of them who are conservatives, are looking at this and they're like, this is absolutely asinine. There's really no way in the world you should or could expect us to overturn the results of the election by sheer virtue of the fact that you have no evidence. But is anyone noticing the problem here? The real problem is that this is a bona fide path to overthrowing the results of an election if you just have a modicum of evidence. If you just had a little, drop of sand amount of evidence, then you would have given, Donald Trump would have given these conservative judges something to latch onto. But Donald Trump's arrogance says, do it for me anyway. Support me anyway. And the problem that we have in this country is not just the fact that Donald Trump has the ego enough to try something this ridiculous, but the fact that this pathway to overthrowing results of an election that you don't like exists in the first place. That's what we have to really address. All right, let's get back to this clip from Jake Tapper.
A state court judge in Arizona dismissed the lawsuit by the Arizona Republican Party there with prejudice. inviting the Secretary of State of Arizona to apply to have her legal fees paid for. On Friday, the conservative Republican Georgia Secretary of State certified the election results in that state, awarding President-elect Biden those electoral votes, and the conservative Republican Georgia governor signed the certification. State election officials and judges throughout the country are serving as protectors of our democracy at a time when, frankly, Republican leaders in Washington, D.C. are failing miserably at the job, as are administration officials who have proven willing to degrade themselves to serve the president's brittle spirit instead of the Constitution and the American people.
Nice and safe.
Which brings me to Emily Murphy, the administrator of the General Services Administration.
There you go. We'll come back to her in one moment. Jake is ready to unload here, right? He's ready to set up the entire reason that he put this clip out was to come and take on this woman, rightfully so, right? He's going to go into it, but I just have to point out something here. Jake, the reason that there are no Republicans doing their job to be protectors of this country, to defend the Constitution against threats domestic vis-a-vis Donald Trump, the reason is because they're complicit with this. Republicans are okay with, if Donald Trump manages to do it, they will accept the results. Okay, let me say that again. If Donald Trump somehow manages to get the results of the election overturned, Republicans will go along with it. That's why they're not actively fighting against it. They're hedging their bets. They're trying to play both sides. If Donald Trump is gone, great. They don't have to deal with the clown anymore. If Donald Trump remains, great. We're still in power and we can still execute our 100-year conservative agenda. All right, now let's get to the clip the part that Jake Tapper has been waiting for.
Used to ascertain that President-elect Biden won, thus delaying the transition. The Biden team's ability to deal with the pandemic when they take over. It is a matter of life and death. Tomorrow, we expect Pennsylvania and Michigan will certify their election results. If you focus only on the states where the Trump team has been filing legal challenges in contesting the results, that means tomorrow Joe Biden will again definitely and officially secure enough electoral votes to be president, according to the state certification process this time. Georgia was Friday, Michigan and Pennsylvania tomorrow. That's it. That's the ballgame, 270 electoral votes. Biden will not even need Nevada or Arizona or Wisconsin. Emily Murphy's legacy will be written in stone tomorrow, in all likelihood. What will that legacy be? And how many more of you watching this here in Washington, D.C. are willing to have your legacies be that you played a role in what will inevitably be recorded by history as a clownish, failed, and please God, we hope, nonviolent coup?
This was an important clip. This last portion was extremely important, but maybe not for the reasons I think Jake Tapper believes that it's important. It is important to point out the fact that history is going to look back at this specific moment, right? This moment that we're in right now is most certainly a tumultuous, it's a turning point in American history, and I'll argue world history. And it's not just based on the fact that Donald Trump is an oafish clown who may pull down this entire country for the sake of his ego. It's two other things. One, it is Donald Trump being willing to try. Two, it's Republicans being willing to go along with it if it works. And three, it's for everyone else not recognizing that this is a warning sign that there is impending danger in this country in terms of the viability of democracy and the democratic experiment, because we see very clearly this is how someone who is not as feckless as Donald Trump could actually succeed in overthrowing the country. But because so many people are ready to get back to normal, not just normal in the sense of going back beyond COVID, having a life after COVID, but they want to get back to normal where Washington, D.C. was nice and comfortable for them, right? Washington, D.C. worked fine for the elites in this country. It worked fine. And the only reason they're upset with Donald Trump right now is because it looks like he may shake up the boat. But if he can shake up the boat and maintain power, there's so many elites who would not care. They will not. That's the Republican Party. They will not care. But are we going to actually do something to prevent this from happening when we can clearly see it's something that's going to happen in the future? Why would we allow this thread that could unravel this country at the seams, at the core, democracy? Why would we allow this thread to just hang and not do what's necessary to protect this country by reforming our system? One, so that we're not stuck with a president like Donald Trump again, and then perhaps this time it will be at the beginning of his term that he gets hit with a world pandemic, and we're stuck with the fecklessness of a moron like Donald Trump for 4 years of their mishandling of COVID-19. Yeah, that's one way. But in reality, the president of the United States has shown that at every single stop, he is willing to burn this country to the ground. And if he has shown us how he's going to do it, wouldn't it behoove the rest of us to actually change this country so that that doesn't happen? I'm just saying.